All right, hello everyone, and welcome back. We've got another predictions video. Yes, the background is different. I'm at a hotel. I'm on a work trip right now. That's not stopping me from doing predictions, though. Didn't stop me from streaming the North American Swiss as well. The VOD is in the past live stream section. It was a lot of fun. Accidentally changed the color of my Google Chrome during it, and I'm still upset because I haven't figured out how to get it to that red that it used to be. I'm sorry if the lighting on me looks terrible as well. That's why my webcam is probably smaller than normal. But thanks to everyone who tuned into the stream. That would have been last night from my perspective, probably 2 days ago by the time this gets uploaded. But with a little bit further ado, I'm going to shout out Cody VRL on Twitter. Yes, it's still Twitter. It's sue me. But I'm going to shout him out. He does the spreadsheets. He gets these uploaded and updated pretty much instantly. So puts in a lot of work. He's tagged here. I didn't do a good job of shouting him out last week, so I'll give him an extra plug. Say he has a tag in the item shop. If you type in Cody VRL, Cody, but highlight the C, please. Thank you. If you type in Cody VRL in the item shop, you can support him, and he has that Epic Creator Code thing going. So pretty cool way to do that. But now that I've waffled enough, let's get into the predictions. We have our first quadrant here in Group A, which is just completely deadly. Gen G, NRG, Strictly Business, and Space Station. If you'll notice, NRG is here. That is because they went 3-2 through the Swiss stage. Yeah, we're still reeling from that. Gen G went 3-0, getting the 1 seed. And speaking of the seeding, I'm going to quickly break down how all this works. So essentially, Group A is, all of the teams that have a higher Buckhole score. So if you finished in Wikipedia, if we scroll down here, Gen G has, the 1 seed coming out of Group A, and so they get matched up against the 1 seed coming out of Group B, which is the Ultimates. The Ultimates have a Buckhole score of 4, while the Gen G has a Buckhole score of 5. So if they have a higher Buckhole scores, they always go, that's the wrong page, I'm going to close out of this. They always go into Group A. The reason for this is that once we get into the AFL format, Group A is always seeded higher than Group B. This is in order to avoid rematches. So hopefully this is clearing up how some of the seeding works, because this is definitely surprising how we get here. But NRG came out of Swiss as the 8th seed with a -1 Buckholes. And when you compare this to Tech, which is the 8th seed, they have a -2 Buckholes. So NRG goes into Group A to face Gen G. Now, is this the most balanced way of doing things? Personally, I don't believe so. I think there do need to be some things that are tweaked. I'm sure a lot of the community agrees with me. Specifically, Reddles had a great tweet. But yeah, that's essentially how we ended up in the situation that we're in. But that means one of these teams is going out 13th through 16th because the losers will face each other down here. So let's get into it. Gen G versus NRG. Gen G looked dominant, going 3-0 through the Swiss. NRG did not. It's hard to actually see the vision. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to give it 3-2. I'm going to give it to NRG. I'm going to hit the light. I know they struggled during Swiss, and I want to see Gen G continue to succeed. But it would be incredibly bold of me to predict Gen G in this match here and have NRG go to lowers. Next, I got to stop squeaking. This chair is squeakier than my chair at home somehow. Next is Strictly Business versus Space Station. And we saw this in the Swiss stage. Actually, we saw Strictly Business go through everybody in this group stage. They faced both Gen G and NRG as well as sweeping 3-0 over Space Station. I did some research into the European section, and I saw that there was 3 rematches from Swiss, if I'm remembering correctly, in the group stage. That was 100% playing Synergy, Save the Game facing Start Point, and then there's one other, Novo facing Caliente. And 2 out of 3 of those went the same way that the series went during Swiss. The only one that was flipped was that 100% ended up beating Synergy. The cope for me is that the 100% versus Synergy rematch from Swiss was a round 2 match in Swiss, and it was a sweep for Synergy, and it was in this exact 4-5 matchup. I am coping hard here because I don't want to face Gen G in the lower bracket. I'm gonna get torn apart for predicting this, but screw it. I'll have Space Station in a revenge match against Strictly Business. Despite the fact that currently the rematch percentage is 66%, Still, I'm gonna claim it's too small of a too small of a sample size. That's what it is. Yep. Okay. Meanwhile, one of these teams gets a guaranteed top 6, which is kind of insane because it wouldn't surprise me if 3 of these teams could make top 6 on their day. Actually, for that matter, 4. Omelet. Okay. Omelet versus Gas. Gas is the Garrett, AJ, Squishy roster. I know there's a lot of hype behind them. I've got Omelet currently power ranked 4th in North America. I'll give Gas 1 game, but Omelet should be winning this. They went 3-0 through the Swiss, and I like him here. Deleted versus Worstland. Deleted actually, this wasn't a match in the Swiss, but it was a match in the double elimination phase. Worstland upset Deleted, dropping them to the lower bracket, where Deleted would then go on to qualify for the Swiss and take down NRG in round 1 of that. So this is a revenge match. I know I said that they normally go the other way, but I think this is just such a freak upset that I cannot predict it again. I'm going to get burned by doing this, but screw it. 3-2. Delete it again. Let's bounce over to Group B. They kind of staggered the start times for these in Europe. I think that was because they didn't have enough admins is what I saw, but honestly, I didn't mind it because that means the series were ending at different times. And it was, easier to bounce around from end of the series to end of the series instead of trying to catch all of the series ending at once. Ultimates Tech is also a insane matchup round 1 for the Ultimates. Tech is this roster that was probably known by most people as Talk Tua. That's Com, Talk, and Evo. These guys also got dropped to the lower bracket of the double elimination, but that is because they got glitched out and basically didn't check into a match and got kind of screwed from there. They ran the gauntlet. They went 3-2 in the Swiss. They're the 8 seed coming out of there, but Ultimates really ran the Swiss pretty well. I like this Ultimate squad. It's LJ. I don't know if I've said the Ultimates is Ultimates yet. It's LJ, First Killer, and Chronic, coached by Sad Jr., which is, definitely a thing. Why are you being loud? Hold on. All right, I turned it off. Hopefully it'll... Yeah, shut up. Let's go. 3-1 in favor of Ultimates. I like Ultimates here. Rebellion versus Pirates. Actually, the fact that one of these guys has to land 13th through 16th, I know one of them probably would normally, but it still feels kind of wild to me. I like this Pirates squad a lot, mainly because 5-up. But I'll give Rebellion a 3-1 here as well. I do like all the teams in this quadrant. I'm not going to lie to you. But Rebellion did kind of get their act together. They went 3-1 through the Swiss, so solid run from them. They took Ultimates to Game 5. Complexity Almost Nuts. I think I said on stream yesterday that Almost Nuts isn't an org. It actually is an org. It's a newer one from the looks of it. But I kind of like their squirrel logo. I don't mind it. This is T-Corel, Skippy, and Repeat. I'm glad to see Repeat in an event again. I believe he was on that Boulevard squad that went 2-3 in Open 3 of last year. That being said, Complexity, I'm pretty high on them. They went 3-0 through the Swiss. I'll give them a sweep here because I can't give everyone a sympathy game. 9 lives in Team Evo. I was starting to be impressed with this Team Evo squad. These guys were up with 0 seconds left in Game 5 against Complexity before conceding and losing in overtime. But then they got swept by Space Station in a match that inspired a lot more confidence in the squad than what I saw with the Space Station versus Alpha Cat team. So Evo, in the meanwhile, though, I'm a little nervous that they almost got reverse swept through Swiss. 9 lives. I like this squad a solid amount. This is the Hoxer Kago Kofor roster. They just barely lost to Omelet from the looks of it, but they went 3-1. I'm going to give these guys a sweep as well because, I mean, if Hoxer and Chicago can beat Vitality, they can definitely beat Relating Wave and Speed. No offense to those guys. Let's go ahead and start. Let's do upper semifinals, and then I'll do lower quarterfinals after I take a drink. Stay hydrated, my friends. NRG Space Station. The delusion only takes me so far. I understand that we took him to 5 in the whole offseason open thing. Stop hitting the light, Matthew. But I'm not going to predict him here. Omelet Deleted. This match is for top 6. I think this is a great squad for this, or a great spot for this Deleted squad to find themselves in. But, I mean, if I'm going to have Omelet power ranked 4th, I better back it up in these predictions. So I'll give them a 3-1. Omelet making top 6 basically by... I guess by winning. It's a little bit of a Mickey bracket in comparison, but has to happen. Genji versus Strictly Business. I can't believe I'm going to predict Strictly Business going out 13th through 16th after beating NRG. It's because I mean, I am not predicting Space Station to go 13th through 16th. Full bias. I'm not doing it. And that means it has to be strictly business, because I think this Gen G squad, like, I'm high on NRG because they're NRG, and I'm high on Gen G because they just went 3-0. So these guys will take it the distance because it has to be around 5 for maximum stress, but they will take care of business. Strictly business. That is a terrible joke. I'm sorry. Gas and Worstland. Worstland, they just qualified for their first main event. They went 3-2. This is Hazo, Sai, and let me double check. Where is their... Oh, they don't have the same logo. Hazo, Jazzy, and Sai. Sai? I think that's how you say it. Facing up against Garrett, AJ Squishy. I feel like if anyone was not going to be affected by the names on this squad, it would be the 2/3 European roster. That being said, I'm going to have our retired GOATs taking down the European imports. I'm noticing a trend in who I'm choosing to go out last here. That I probably won't continue with Team Evo, but let's find out, shall we? Ultimates Rebellion. This is one where the rematch is definitely going to go the same way. I like Ultimates here. I'll give them 3-1. It was a 3-2 in Swiss. Rebellion almost reverse swept, but Ultimates closed it out in Game 5. This time it'll be a little bit cleaner. Ultimates secure their spot in the top 6. Complexity 9 lives. I have Complexity Power ranked 3rd, and I'm a little bit lower on this 9 live squad. These guys almost losing to Team Evo is a bit of a startler, but I don't think too big of cause for concern. And I'm going to keep the trend going because I want to see North America won by North Americans, and I can, until I see evidence to the contrary, ignore the fact that these guys were very evidence to the contrary. I'm going to predict it. So I'll go 3-1 in favor of 9 lives, put them through to the top 6, and our LAN matchups are going to be heating up with that. Tech and Pirates, again, I said that sucks that one of these teams has to go out 13th through 16th. Not as much as this quadrant right here, because I think this is completely disingenuous to where Strictly Business actually should be ranked, especially after their Swiss performance. But this one, I'll give it to Tech. I'll give it to Tech 3-2. I like the Pirate squad better than 13th through 16th. I just think they get an unlucky draw, and they'll be hopefully in a better spot in next event. Team Evo, I will have you guys beating almost nuts. I believe this was the match that they played to get in. No, it wouldn't have been. They were in different rounds. But I will have Team Evo winning this one 3-1. I can't have all the imports losing at the soonest, earliest convenience. Complexity and Tech. Oh, I want Tech to put up a fight here, but I can't predict Complexity going out this early. I'll give it 3-1. But this is a very winnable match if Tech show up on that day and if talk is actually the truth. Rebellion Team Evo, this better be clean, guys. This better be clean. I have been a little bit lower on Rebellion than most given this offseason, but I've got to predict them to beat Team Evo handily. I got to bounce back here. Deleter versus Gen G. This will be a 3... I'll give it a 3-0. Gen G actually being clean with it, because that'd be fun. And then we... After what I saw with Space Station against Alpha Kep's team, it feels insane to say this, but like I'm worried about the name brand here and how much it that might affect against a team like this. That being said, they'll take care of business. They'll drop like the first game and scare me, and like I'll have a heart attack or something, but then they'll win anyways. Insane that this is the matchup, by the way. I guess that makes sense. Like I feel like if whichever of these teams wins one, like they're going to qualify for the top 8. Like one of these guys has to go out 13th through 16th, but the rest of them are qualifying for top 8 in my opinion. I'd be shocked if that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, I just don't respect Deleted XD as much. They're welcome to prove me wrong. They beat NRG, so who the heck knows? Speaking of NRG, they're going to face off against Omelet, and I'll give it a 3-2. I know I didn't give this a 3-2 based on offseason open, but this was a 3-2 in the offseason open. We didn't get to see it, and truthfully, like game differential just doesn't matter. So might as well give Omelet the 2 games to play homage to that and back up what I have power ranked. Gen G versus Space Station. This one, game 5, I'll have Gen G take it this time just because these guys were much more impressive in Swiss than these guys. I know I have Space Station ranked higher, but a lot of that is projection, and we'll see how it actually ends up on the pitch. But if I had to predict based on how the Swiss went and how the rest of this weekend would be going, eventually I got to stop giving the edge to my team. Ultimates 9 Lives is kind of a cool one where it's LJ and Sad Jr. versus Hoxer and Chicago. I'm going to give the edge to LJ and his new team. I like the Hoxer-Chicago duo. I think Kofor is in the spot where he can probably raise his stock the most this season, and I think a big win over Complexity like I've predicted here would be massive for that, but Ultimates is a step too far. Then Complexity Rebellion. This is one where Rebellion, if they want to show that they're serious, they take down Complexity, but I'm not going to predict it. 3-1, favor Complexity. And that brings us to our AFL bracket. This is wild. This is wild. Let's start up here. Let's start down here. This is what we started with in Europe. Gen G versus Rebellion. This has to go Gen G's favor. I'll give it 4-2. But again, and maybe I'm hyping them up too much. The Gen G that I saw in Swiss looks like they could be the real deal. So let's hope they continue on that trend. I know we're counting our days over Bruno Buckholes, but I think they'll come out just barely ahead. Complexity Space Station in this lower bracket. I'm actually like, I think if we face 9 Lives, it's much more winnable, but the fact that I had Complexity losing there might doom me to put Space Station out in the top 8. See, the full bias side of me knows I want to predict Space Station here. I'm going to get clowned on if I don't. I'll go 4-3, Complexity win it. I hope for an upset. I hope for many upsets in favor of Space Station. I mean, they're all possible, but I'm just going to scroll back and forth repeatedly because my brain doesn't know what else to do. NRG 9 Lives. I'll give 9 Lives 1 game here, but this is going to be pretty clean from NRG. Then Ultimate's Omelet is not going to be as clean from Omelet, at least. I'll give that a 4-0. These are kind of one-sided, but at least what we saw in Europe, these aren't as one-sided from what I predicted, but what we saw in Europe, these were very one-sided. These were too, but I think the top 6 in Europe is much more defined than well, it's a little bit less defined now that 100% has worked themselves in the conversation, but it's a lot more defined than it is in North America. I think these matchups are more likely to be closer. But these were absolute barn burners in Europe, both of them going to 7, hyped matchups. And honestly, that's exactly what you want, because these are the matches that put you in position to make LAN. And so I think if these matches continue to be the closest throughout the entire season, we're in for a good one, because I'm going to be honest, that 100% versus Dignitas series is like why I love this esport. So 9 Lives, Gen G. This is 2/3 of the old Space Station roster against Gen G, which is RMC actually. It's either a Kofor coming out party or these guys solidifying themselves as being in a good spot for LAN. Unfortunately, I think the coming out party for Kofor is going to have to wait just another day as Gen G will continue their run. Omelet versus Complexity. Whew. I mean, I have, in terms of my power rankings, I have 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 North America. So this lower side of the bracket is stacked beyond belief. And if Complexity can keep running the gauntlet, then good for them. But I'm going to say, despite the fact that this was yesterday, their luck has to run out at some point. I'm going to back it up. I'm going to predict Omelet to the top 4 because I know nobody else is going to. And I feel like it's a little bit disingenuous to what they did put together in their last split, what they did in the offseason tournament. I think they're better than people are, I've had some bad takes before. I'm aware of that. I'm aware this could very easily get memed on. But I think they're better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. They have a very achievable path to the top 6. If they complete that, then I could see them making it. Ultimate's Gen G is not going to be close. That'll be a 4-1. There's a rule about rematches where, at least I have a rule about rematches, especially on the same weekend. It's probably going to be different as we look at it from, Swiss to main event because you have that week of preparation. But in terms of the same event, you really don't. Normally, the team that lost the first time gets the revenge in the next matchup. We saw this a lot at Copenhagen. I think that's like my prime example of this. It happened at Worlds as well with BDS and Furia, but I also say that it has to happen with teams on the same level. Now, NRG didn't really show the level of being like elites in the Swiss stage. but I'm not predicting Omelet to a final. Like, I already don't live down the fact that I predicted Optic to make it to the spring major final in Boston. I would never live it down if I predicted Omelet to a final either. So I'll have their run end here. I'll give them the 2 games. I mean, I'll give it game 7 because this game like constantly went to game 7 last season. I believe we saw it like 2 or 3 times. NRG and Omelet. It would have been G2 and Cloud9 last season, but they went to 7 quite a bit. And the last series is our 2 predicted. It wouldn't surprise me if NRG gets knocked out sooner, but I just can't predict it because that'd just be insane, despite the fact that we saw what we saw in Swiss. But in terms of NRG Ultimates, I have said that one of the most important things for the split is that LJ needs to get his first regional win. At some point, your Swiss performance does have to come back to haunt you in these predictions, and this is that point for NRG. LJ is going to get his first regional win, and it could be where the turning point in North America happens. I really think if, LJ levels up, they get it done in the first event. I know they won the offseason open against these guys already, so they have experience winning. LJ winning his first RLCS event would be massive. I think that would be a massive confidence boost. I got to stop like hyping this guy up. But it'd be a good confidence boost for the player and could really lead them into, actual land contending tier. So I'll predict Ultimates 4-2 in the final. And there's your North America predictions. I know this is not great. Somehow I've rambled on for 20 minutes. This bottom side of the bracket is cursed, but it's because this is cursed. These guys are going to ruin my hopes and dreams on Friday. I might be live for it. I'm not sure. We'll find out. But hopefully you all enjoyed my predictions video, and I will catch you guys at some point in the future. We'll see you when. Adios.